Good morning to my students in COM 1101. This is Tuesday morning um, on September 29th, and we're going to get into the recording industry. I believe I have the PowerPoint up. It's a long one, but I'm going to make this shorter. If I skip um, a slide, I will tell you that I'm about to skip it and that the information on that particular slide is not something you need to know, okay? Because this gets pretty technical, and that's not what I'm looking for as far as your understanding is. I want you to understand the the history, but most importantly, the impact or the effect that recorded music or the recording industry had on people, their enjoyment of music, their ability to hear music whenever and wherever they were, and that sort of thing. So it's always, what is the effect on the culture? What is the user of this form of mass communication? What is the user getting out of it? Okay, I don't expect to be training you to go into the recording industry, so you don't have to know how things actually work. I want you to know what their effects are. So we go to slide 2, and David Morton, who has this website, the Sound Recording Technology History site, which is a mouthful, this is what he said. Quote, the real significance of the early phonograph, and when I was growing up, we called it a record player, was that it transformed the way people listened to music. Where once music was a unique live performance, um, experienced in a public place with a group, now it was heard privately in the home, and it was possible to hear the same, and we're going to do the air quotes, performance over and over. According to this argument, the listening experience was cheapened. But all of you out there who listen to music on whatever devices you have, I don't think you would call that a cheapened experience. It's just different. It is different to go to hear a rock group or a symphony live, as a live performance. It really is. It's a totally different kind of experience. But this allowed more people to have the experience of listening to music, because not everybody could get to a place. Not everybody lived in a city where they could see performances. Not everybody had the money to afford a ticket to get in to see a live performance. It's the same way today. Moving on to slide 3, the early history. As you see, this is a painting by Vermeer. I'd like you to remember that. He was a very famous, I believe, Dutch painter. And this painting is called The Music Lesson. If you ever had piano lessons or tuba lessons or whatever, or violin lessons like I had, then you know what this experience is about. Making and listening to music have always been a fundamental human need. Um, if you go back to Simon and Garfunkel, Paul Simon went to Africa and he immersed himself in their culture. I don't know which country in Africa he went to, but he picked up the rhythm of their music and he made an album, and it was fantastic, um, because different peoples hear music in different ways and like different sounds, or they're used to it and they're comfortable with it. So if I were you, I'd go and listen to Paul Simon's, some of his music that was made on that later album. At any rate, it's a fundamental human need. Before the invention of recording, you could hear music only if someone was prepared to play or sing it. And that was the only way. That's the great thing that recording brought into our lives. On to the next slide. Here is Bruegel's Peasant Wedding. Um, this shows how peasants ate. These were the poor people, and yet I know it's been said that music helps digestion. And you can see some musicians on the left here with their different instruments. They would walk around and play music. And in some of the finer restaurants today, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, some of the finer restaurants, you will see violinists. Or if you go to a Mexican restaurant, you'll see a mariachi band walking around playing music. Uh, it, some people really, really enjoy it, and some people don't want to be bothered. They want to just taste the food. Anyway, going on to slide 5, which may happen here. Okay. In the Middle Ages, the wheel was the first mechanism used to record sound, with pegs positioned to strike chimes, certain keys, or bells when rotated. And we have a little picture here of a walking mechanical duck. It's called automata. This was basically one of the first robots. It was developed by Jacques de Vaucanson in 1745. The duck flapped its wings, raised up on its legs, stretched its neck, and quacked. Oh, and digested food. It digested food. I don't even want to know about that. Okay, so we go on to the next slide. Pre-Edison, early recording devices. You're going to start to hear about Tom Edison a lot. He was one of our, probably next to Benjamin Franklin, one of our most famous inventors of things, but really great things. Being able to record sounds was always a dream of inventors. Although musical boxes and barrel organs allowed people to hear music without anyone having to play, the sound was very limited. You have probably seen or heard of player pianos, which would have, if you look at this small phonograph, that there's a crank on the side. You wind it up and it starts to move, it starts to play. These tins had holes in them, and as this disc traveled around in a circle, little plinky things would fall into those holes, and lo and behold, you'd have music. That was a neat invention. So this barrel orchestration by Klepeter in Prague about 1860 was an early computer. So yes, it's not a player piano, but it's a player machine. This is on slide 7. It's pre-Edison. Very, very large, with a roller. You would put, to change your song, you would put a different tin, platen, I would call it, on there, and these little things would go through the holes that were there. It was, you don't need to know. Scott's phonoautograph from 1857 traced sound waves on a carbonized cylinder with a stylus attached, I have hiccups this morning, to a diaphragm that vibrated from spoken sounds. It did not record the sound itself, only a graphical image of the sound. I'm going to stop right here and get rid of my hiccups, and then we'll continue.